Hello lovelies, welcome back to my Cavern of Secrets. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Reading the title, you're probably wondering how the Gainesville Ripper case inspired Scream. Well, to answer that question, I need to tell you about the killer and the murders. Additional information will be provided in the description below. However, fair warning, it is pretty graphic. Danny Rowling lived a troubled life. He was born on May 26, 1954, to a Claudia and James Rowling in Shreveport, Louisiana. Sadly, James never wanted children, and to make matters worse, he was a police officer who constantly abused his wife and children. When Danny was 1, his father abused him for the first time because he wasn't crawling properly. Danny gained a younger brother named Kevin in 1955. Unfortunately, the abuse only worsened. Claudia did try to leave James, but she always seemed to return to him. Danny had far too many absences from school during the 3rd grade, which caused his mother to have a nervous breakdown because she knew his absentees weren't because of an illness like the school believed. The school counselors described Danny as suffering from an inferiority complex with aggressive tendencies and poor impulse control. By the time Danny reached the age of 11, he picked up music to help him handle his father's abuse. He played the guitar and sang hymn-like songs. During this time, Claudia was committed to a hospital for trying to commit suicide, which caused Danny to pick up drugs and alcohol, and that only made things far worse for his fragile mental state. By the age of 14, the neighbors of Danny caught him peering into their daughter's bedroom, which caused James to beat his son yet again. Danny tried to stay in control of his impulses by going to church and holding down a job. However, those failed, so he enlisted in the military. However, the Navy wouldn't take him, so he joined the Air Force, but that didn't help him. He eventually left the Air Force after taking acid more than 100 times, although it was more like the military discharged him for his drug abuse. After his discharge, Danny managed to find a woman to settle down with and marry. However, the cycle of abuse continued. At the age of 23, after being with his wife for 4 years, she left Danny because he threatened to kill her. This occurred in 1977. Danny, devastated by his wife's separation from him, turned it into anger. In his fury, he attacked a woman who closely resembled his ex-wife. Later that same year, he killed a woman in a car accident, which troubled him further. From the late 70s to the 90s, Danny committed many thefts and petty crimes, which caused him to be in and out of the criminal justice systems throughout Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, and Alabama. Rowling actually broke out of prison several times. He also quit or was fired from jobs just as fast. His first victims were in Shreveport, a 24-year-old Julie Grissom, her father Tom Grissom, and her nephew, an 8-year-old Sean. It was around the time Danny lost his last job and returned home for vengeance. In May of 1990, Danny broke. He shot his 58-year-old father twice, nearly killing him. However, James survived, but lost an eye and an ear. After the incident, Danny changed his identity with papers he stole from a home he had broken into. He fled Shreveport and went to Sarasota, Florida, to start a new life as Michael Kennedy Jr. in late July of 1990. On August 24, 1990, Danny broke into the home of Sonja Larson and Christina Powell. They were incoming freshmen at the University of Florida in Gainesville. This was the start of the Gainesville Ripper murders. After attacking, binding, and sexually assaulting the women, he killed them. The next day, he went on to kill Krista Hoyt in the same fashion after breaking into her home. News of the grisly murder spread across the university, which caused many of the students to sleep in groups. However, this didn't stop the Gainesville Ripper. On August 27th, Danny attacked Tracy Pauls and Manuel Tabota. Both were only 23 years old. He killed Manuel in his sleep and then went on to murder Tracy. Danny didn't mutilate the bodies this time. Authorities believe that Danny was worried about being caught, or he may have been interrupted in the process. The murders occurred less than 2 miles from each other around the University of Florida. The university, in response to the horrendous murder spree, they canceled classes for a week. Students started bringing baseball bats with them everywhere they went and never went out alone during the day or night. Many students began triple locking their doors and sleeping in shifts, so someone was always awake. By the end of August, thousands of students left campus and around 700 never came back because they were terrified for their lives. The police caught a break after noticing the similarities between the Shreveport and Gainesville murders. The DNA at both crime scenes were similar enough to charge Danny with murder. Rowling confessed to being the Gainesville Ripper, and they had enough evidence to convict him. Danny was executed on October 25th, 2006 in Florida. He was 52 years old. So you might be asking, how does this relate to the movie Scream? Well, Kevin Williamson was an aspiring writer during the 90s when the Gainesville Ripper murders piqued his interests. Williamson used the case to create a screenplay for a horror movie which revolved around the murders of college students. The screenplay turned into the 1996 cult classic, Scream. Even though the film shows high school students, Williamson did get his chance of exploring the sphere rampant on universities following a case like Gainesville Ripper. The Fox TV show The Following taps into the hysteria on a college campus. Williamson quoted, "Back when I was researching Danny Rowling, I wanted to write about a serial killer on a college campus and an FBI agent hunting down a college professor. But then I decided to do Scream." End quote. So what do you think of the horrifying backstory to Scream? Do you think if Williamson followed his original screenplay idea, would Scream be a lot different than what we have today? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe and hit that like button to show your support, along with joining the other amazing things who have already done so. Thank you again. I hope you have an awesome weekend. Take care until next time.